Stephen Purcell, Managing Partner of Dibbs Barker, and I've been in the role since the 1st of August this year, recently returned to the profession. I'm going to address my comments to the new processes and managing change, but I'm happy to also discuss diversity. I started in a small practice in the city in 1983, and at that time the new technology or processes were faxes and memory typewriters. So things have changed considerably in the intervening 33 years. In my mind, what we're seeing now goes way beyond new processes. It's really a new way of doing things, of which processes are a part. And the new way of doing things is heavily influenced by technology, and in particular the way that technology has changed the way we function as a society. So much of what we experience in our day-to-day non-working lives is now playing out in our work lives, and we shouldn't be overly surprised by that. I do get surprised when people are surprised, but what's happening in our day-to-day lives is definitely impacting in work. And what do I mean by that? So there's a couple of things we see in our day-to-day lives. First of all, the buying of goods and services online. We can generally source from anywhere, not just locally. We can compare, and we never pay full price. There is usually a better deal available if you keep looking, and there is little to no human contact. The second thing is that technology itself is innovating and improving at a never-increasing rate. In short, we can do things with it more quickly. Now, it shouldn't be any surprise that those two things I've just mentioned are playing out in our work lives and what we see in the legal market. And I think it's impacting the legal profession in three particular fundamental ways. First of all, the way we source our lawyers. Secondly, the way we secure and retain clients. And thirdly, the way we do our work. So if you look at each of those three things, first of all, the way we source our lawyers. So there's still the old-fashioned way of advertising, but advertising is more likely now to be via LinkedIn or Seek or some other online marketplace. And the online marketplace is not necessarily there to enable you to attract full-time employees to your business. More often than not, it's to get contractors for short-term periods to address peak periods of demand so that your workforce can flex with the demand from your clients. So it's creating a new work environment. And the other thing that happens with these online marketplaces is that we are looking to disaggregate some of the work that we do so that components of a job for a client might be outsourced while we retain the overall responsibility for the job. That's a fundamental shift in the way that we used to work. The second thing is the way we secure and retain clients. So one of the biggest shifts I've seen in my 33 years, and Gary can probably relate to this, it is very much now a buyer's market. I don't think it was when I started in the profession in 1983. It was pretty much, there's the client, we do the work, we send the bill, we get paid. It doesn't work that way anymore. And I think one of the most fundamental shifts that's changed over that period was really in the mid-90s, when the major companies, and in particular the major banks, started to go to panels. And that started to really open up the market. And we've seen an increasing change in the way we go to market now with clients as a result of there being panels. I can't think of one major company, organisation or government department that would only have one provider of legal services. It just doesn't happen anymore. So it's created opportunity. And retaining the client is not just about doing the work anymore. I mean, there was a time when, I've done the work, I've done a good job, but it's not just about doing the work anymore. It's about remaining relevant to the client, and remaining relevant to the client is about stepping into the shoes of the client and proactively assisting them to be more competitive in their chosen industry and markets. So it's actually truly partnering with the client to help them be more effective and competitive. And the third thing is the way we do our work. You don't need to be in your office to do the work. You're available 24/7. It's all about delivering the work quicker, more efficiently, and usually at a lower cost. And all of those things are elements are reflective of it being a buyer's market. If I just turn briefly now to managing change, so I'm not a change expert, but over the various roles I've had over the years, I've delivered quite a bit of change. For me, the starting point is change is the new black. Change is a constant, and in my experience, there are a few things that help you to successfully drive change. First of all, it needs to be led or sponsored from the top. Secondly, the leadership team must develop and sell a clear vision for what you are trying to create by the change. Thirdly, and most importantly, effective communication, collaboration and engagement around why change is important and the positive impact it will have on the business. And fourthly, securing some short-term wins so people can see that the change is of true benefit to them and the business. I think that, we see so much change in our day-to-day lives now that actually making change in your business is getting a bit easier. That might be a bit counterintuitive in some sense, but we see it all the time. Things are changing rapidly, and younger people in the business, they're technology natives, they lap it up, they know what they're doing, and older professionals like myself have been around long enough. So much has changed in the 33 years I've been in the profession that there's just going to be more and more change. So I think most of us are more accepting of change than we've ever been before. That's all I wanted to say about those opening comments.
Thank you. Having worked outside the legal profession and come back into it, have you gained any insights from your experience on the other side?
Yes.
That would be useful for the profession?
Well, two things, I suppose. One, I'm obviously a product of my most recent experience, which was in a boutique accounting firm where I was the CEO for 7 years, highly specialised firm. That was a first-generation firm, so I had the great advantage of working with senior partners who'd gone out and set up their own businesses. So they had a true entrepreneurial spirit. So one of the things I learnt from there was that you need to have a go, you need to take risks, and it's okay to fail. One of the most powerful messages I got was in one of my early board meetings when we were looking at a new opportunity, and I had my lawyer's hat on. I was also being the CEO, and I'm saying, there's all these reasons why it won't work. And the chair of the board turned to me and said, Stephen, it's okay to fail. Now that's a powerful lesson to learn, and I've taken it with me. You don't want to blow the place up, but you need to take some risks and you need to have a go. The second thing is, and maybe it was more acute in the particular business I was in, but we were very much on the front foot in going to clients with valuable ideas, going to clients, trying to create the work and the new opportunities. I think as a profession, certainly in the old days, we waited for the clients to come to us. We expected the phone to ring. It doesn't ring. You have to go out to the client. You have to have something to talk to them about. You need a story, and you need to be able to talk with your client about how you can help them to be more competitive in their market. So I've learnt those things, and I think they've been valuable lessons for me.
Okay. You talked about change taking place. At the coalface with those within the firm, how have you handled that? How have they reacted to it? And again, do you have any insights for the profession in dealing with those issues?
I'm very strong about change. I mean, I think you can't keep your business the way it's always been. So I start with a positive mindset that we will be changing, and I let everyone know very early on that there will be change. So I may not know what the full picture is going to look like, but I just get everyone ready for the fact that there will be change. The most fundamental thing, though, I think for us as lawyers is we must look at change through the client lens. It's not through our lens. It's not what makes it easier for us to do the work, or that could be a component of it, but it's really about looking at the position and the situation through the client lens, and I think that's the most powerful thing. And so most law firms would talk about, or professional services firms would talk about being client-centric. Well, what does that really mean? It means putting yourself in the shoes of the client and actively assisting the client to be better in their market. And so that's the way I engage with our team. How does this benefit the client? If it's not going to benefit the client, why are we doing it? If it just benefits us, that can be okay, but is there a client benefit? And that's the way I approach things.
And does that bring them along for the ride, or are those that lag behind? I
think it does. Look, in any environment, you're always going to have a spectrum of people. I think, given my introductory comments, that I think most partners and senior lawyers now accept we have to change. The world's changing around us, and if you don't change, you get left behind, or worse still, you'll go out of business. So change is absolute necessity, and I think if they understand that and they can see so much of it happening in their lives, then I think you can get people to where you need to get them to. And those that don't want to come along for the ride, well, they probably won't be part of your business.
Mm. Are there any stress levels that are reached in the, not just yours, but for staff, for solicitors, for support staff, for partners that need to be carefully managed because some, I assume, are very accepting of change, others will come along for the ride, but there are others who might be resistant, and presumably those processes raise some mental health issues that need to be looked at very carefully and dealt with. Have you had those sorts of experiences, and if you have, how have you dealt with them?
I haven't seen that directly, so I haven't seen any mental health issues directly as a result of change. There could be mental health issues for other reasons, which could be overwork and other factors outside the workplace. I haven't seen that. I just haven't seen people become depressed or have other issues as a result of change. There is no doubt, though, that some people adopt and adapt at a quicker rate than others, and you do have to try to bring the great body with you. I mean, like any adoption, there's always the early adopters, there's some in the middle, and there's a few laggards. So you've got to try and get the great bulk of the people over the line with you as quickly as possible, and they need to be inspired by those who are leading the charge. I just think, Gary, that, as I said earlier, we are seeing so much change in our daily lives. I mean, you just think about the way you buy things now, the way you do things. We're just used to it. And I think we're getting better at living with change because it is happening so quickly. I mean, the way you book holidays is different to the way you used to do it. The way you buy things is different to the way you do it. The way you access information. I mean, you don't go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, you get onto Google. And you've got your iPad with you while you're watching TV and you're Googling stuff. So we're learning more, there's more access to information. We just do things differently. And I think it's a good thing. So I'm excited by change.
Is innovation fostered within your firm?
Yes, yes.
And how is it fostered?
So we do a range of things. So obviously it's fostered in part by me preaching that we need to be more innovative. We have an innovation hub in our firm which involves a range of people across the business, led by our technology team but not exclusively so. We do things with clients. We had an innovation day earlier this year where we had clients come in and we ran some stuff with clients. So there's a range of things we do to around innovation and to enhance it. You know, we're collaborating with third-party providers. You know, we're working with legal process outsourcers. We're working closely with clients to develop bespoke things that work for them, generally around volume, but not necessarily always volume. So that's how we're doing it. So we talk about it, we do something about it, and we engage with our clients. So that's really what we're doing around fostering innovation.
Okay.
Do you see any obstacles or barriers, or is it really all in the mind? I mean, are there regulatory barriers where you think regulation needs to change because we're hitting this roadblock, or
it's
Law
a good
Society,
question.
what support could Law Society give?
It's a good question, Katie. I mean, I would put back, I'd say, given the number of new business models that are evolving, it's hard to see how there are regulatory barriers preventing it from happening. How they are regulated might be another issue, but I don't think there's any barriers that I can see that are overly obvious because, you know, take the previous speaker and take other speakers you would have had. There are so many new things evolving which are working with the profession. So there are new models coming together all the time. We're developing some ourselves in our law firms with our clients, but there's a lot of outside providers who are starting up businesses. They're not lawyers, but they're intimately involved with law firms or lawyers in setting up their business. So if that's allowed to happen, then you'd have to think that there isn't too much of a barrier to that occurring.
Do you think there's anything that the Law Society should be doing to foster innovation?
I think there's a couple of things you can be doing. None of these are rocket science, but I think, you know, the Law Society of New South Wales is a leader amongst the societies in Australia, so you need to continually demonstrate leadership. As simple as that might seem, it's all about leading by example and having an open mind. I think the Law Society could be actively creating and involved in innovation forums. So you may already be doing that, but you can possibly do more of that. I think it's important for the Society to be abreast of global changes within the profession, and particularly global changes in relation to technology and how that might impact the profession. I think the Society in itself, in the way it runs its business, if I can use that term, needs to be innovative in the way it does that, because that's part of demonstrating leadership to the profession. And just as we discussed earlier, if you perceive that there are regulatory hurdles, then doing what you can to dismantle those as quickly as you can.